Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise TV. Now to our main conversation. The trial judge, Justice Hamza Muazu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, granted Godwin Emefiele leave on Thursday to travel out of the FCT, but not out of the country, after meeting his 300 million naira bail condition. The former central bank governor, who pleaded not guilty to the 20-count amended charge leveled against him by the EFCC, which includes a criminal breach of trust, forgery, conspiracy to commit forgery, procurement fraud, and alleged conspiracies to commit felony. All right, so still in the studios with me to discuss this is Barrister Evans Emefiele. Thank you for hanging on with us. So let's go to the meaty part of this discussion. This is your area of specialty, and for lots of our viewers, there is still a little bit of conflict here. He's been held for quite some time, and it seems to us that as every day goes by, the new cases keep mounting up, keep mounting. Help us make sense of all of this, especially coming from why he was arrested or detained in the first place and where we are right now.
You say he's been held. He's been held before.
Yes.
On bail now.
Yes, exactly.
It's on bail now. But as investigation progresses, the investigative authority, when they uncover when they make new discoveries of criminalities or of when they find out that he possibly have committed more offenses than he was charged of before previously, they have the right under the law to prefer more charges against him. Now there are 20 more count charges. He was arraigned yesterday. Now, because he has a subsisting bail, that's what they call subsisting bail. Mean he's on bail already. Okay. But he was rearraigned or arraigned yesterday, and what you do in law is that we ask that the bail continue. Okay.
The bail continue?
Yes, okay. The subsisting bail will continue.
Okay.
You understand? If that is not asked for, they will have to remand him again in prison. So that is specifically asked for by the council, then the bail will continue. But the truth is that under the law, there is no amount of allegation that is too much or too low to a suspect or a defendant. You understand? Okay. EFCC can dig up everything they want to dig up, come up with charges upon charges upon charges. You see, it does not matter how many count charge. What matters is when trial commences, because February have been stated down for trial, the EFCC must prove every count charge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
By evidence.
Okay.
You understand? That's why I say it's an allegation. In law, there's what they call presumption of innocence. Section 35(6) of the 1999 Constitution says that every person is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. So, what EFCC is doing is to investigate and gather enough evidence to prosecute him. Now, whether or not this evidence will succeed to ground their claim is a different thing entirely. They have talked about conspiracy, they have talked about fraud, they have talked about so many issues he has committed and all that, criminal infraction. But it is evidence that will determine whether or not it's going to. You can have 20 count charge, and the 20 count charge may fail against the defendant. You can have 10 count charge, none will be proven. You can have 10, and the 10 is proven. You understand?
Now, according to the law, don't you think it's enough to just come to a plea bargain and end all of this waste of time, resources, and so on and so forth.
Plea bargain is applicable when the defendant is guilty, and I've decided to plead guilty, and I've decided to return or make restitution, whatever that is stolen. Okay. In a case where he's saying, I did not commit these offenses, these are allegations, I don't know anything about it. It is only trial that will determine whether or not he's guilty or otherwise. Okay. Trial will uncover the gray areas, but the EFCC usually will file charges, and that is exactly what they have done. Now, these charges could be onerous. Sometimes they could be trump-up charges, they could be flimsy, they could be anything. Okay, as long as it's constitutional rights, okay, it's not breached or violated, let the prosecution prove the case. You see, in law, when a person is arraigned before the court, the first thing the court will do is to arraign the person and have the charge against the person read to him. So he will now, that the defendant will now respond orally by saying he's guilty or not guilty. Okay, where he responds orally, then the court will now adjourn for trial. Okay, now because fair hearing is critical, the prosecution will start by laying foundation and proving the guilt. There's what they call burden of proof. He that alleges must prove. If I allege that you stole something, I have to prove it. I have to prove it. So when they take him to court and they read charges to him, in the language he understands, he must understand it, and he will now plead, either a plea of guilt or not guilt. And once that is done, the burden of proof will now, already the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. But when arraignment is concluded, the absolute burden of proof now moves to the prosecution. The prosecution will now bring evidence to say, count charge 1. They will tender evidence or no effect. Once they tender evidence, the burden of proof will now shift again from the prosecution back to the defendant. It's now the defense counsel that will now disprove again. So it keeps moving here and there, here and there. But what the court must do, what the prosecution must do, must prove its own case on the strength of its own case and not on the weakness of the defendant's case. Meaning that the prosecution must prove the guilt of the defendant absolutely and overwhelmingly, unequivocally. Okay? He cannot rely on some defect of the defendant. He cannot, for example, say, because the defendant was involved in one criminal case 2 years ago with the police, therefore today, in this case before us, the defendant is possibly guilty of this one too. You don't understand what I'm saying? You cannot do that. That's why I say the court is not a church. You cannot do that in any court. And even when you have 10 persons commit an offense, if one person says, yes, 10 of us committed the offense, the court will not listen to that. You can only plead to your own.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You cannot gather all the defendants that you know. So criminal liability is personal. It has to be personal. So the EFCC, they have February. Okay, so they are going to gather the evidence. They are going to do what they have to do. But in law, if it turns out that the prosecution, okay, did not effectively have a hold of its case and have accused the defendant forcefully or falsely, the defendant can bring what they call malicious prosecution against the EFCC. That is, in law, when criminal proceedings terminate in favor of the defendants, the defendant have a right under the law to file a case against the prosecution for malicious prosecution. In which case, you have dragged him, you have messed him up and all that. He will now,
But often is that respected? by such institutions.
Well, it is. It depends on the level you fight it. It depends on the level you want to take it to. You understand? Bad judgment against police, EFCC and all that.
With your experience, have you ever seen the police pay for such issues against them?
There's a way you get it. Before the police have a visible bank account, where if we get judgment against them, we can garnish the account. Now, when they say the TSA, police will not have any account again. Just one account.
Everything goes to the center.
Just one account. They have a judgment against police. I wanted to garnish the account. One account, that the one at the account have less than 1,000 naira. And we got a judgment of 20 million. So we're not able to garnish it, not able to do anything. So you're getting what's this, but there's a medium through which we get such money now.
Okay.
There's a Senate committee on the police and all that. So you go through that committee.
All right.
You go through a lot too, but there's a way out.
All right. So still on the CBN, Center for Social Justice, Equity and Transparency, SESJET, has asked the current governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, to resign his position for allegedly failing to address the continuous depreciation of the naira. A statement issued by the Executive Secretary of SESJET, Dr. Tonyi Daudu, claimed that Kadoso lacked the proficiency to drive the economic revolution that the nation endlessly craves. Barrister, let's take a look at this. You know, we started from Emefiele, now we're gravitating towards Kadoso, and still boils down to the same issue. Now, I'd love us to take a look at this from two different phases. Number one, the phase of, do you think Kadoso is doing a good enough job? Then secondly, do you think in the future we might have the same issue with Emefiele equally affecting Kadoso?
Well, that is in introspection. One of the major issues raised by the CSO is the issue of the lack of the unification of the naira to the exchange rates. Okay, and generally the monetary policy of the CBN. They are saying that it is not different from what we had all this while, so there's no change. People thought that when it was coming, it's going to come with a lot of innovations, and now the CSO is saying is bereft of ideas, that is clueless as to what to do to move the country forward by virtue of its monetary policy and all that. So you and I know that nothing has changed between Emefiele, and it has even worsened. Okay, so the naira is still scarce.
Very.
I mean, we thought that his advent will lead to an amelioration of the hardship, because you use the naira to buy the naira. And I've asked an economist, because I've never seen it before, where you use money to buy the same currency. I know of exchange. You use money to buy another currency. But I don't know of using your own currency to buy your own currency.
So the point of service technology shouldn't have been observed that way? Yeah, no,
we shouldn't be at that this thing. I mean, according to Emefiele created it. But Emefiele have left that place now for a while, for some time now. So why have we not addressed the issue? If this man have enough ideas, I'm forced to align with the CSO, because if he have enough ideas as to what should happen, the central bank have the statistics. They know how many bank accounts we have in Nigeria. They know how many naira notes that's in circulation. They know everything. They know the population that have what, when, and how in our financial institutions. Okay, but the policy to drive this, exchange rate, for example, the economy is playing a role because we're a consuming economy, and I understand that of the dollar. But that of the naira scarcity, I don't understand it. Yes, because...
well, they say that it's actually meant to curb inflation because of too much printing of the naira that was done during the past administration.
I know the cashless, this is different now. The cashless, whatever you call it, is different. I'm talking about you not having enough in circulation, and you have to now use naira to buy it.
The naira.
We had already gone into the cashless policy, and we still had sufficient funds. This scarcity started when they hurriedly went to print new naira notes, okay, to replace the old one. And today, the new one and the old one are still legal tender. So what was the essence of that new Naira note? Well, that's where the crisis started from. And that's why I fought Emefiele for that. Yes. Now we have a new CBN governor who should correct the mistake of the previous. But as he corrected it, no. The scarcity still lingers. So we have created for ourselves a new kind of hardship to the layers of the already existing ones. If you want to take 10,000 naira or 20,000 naira, they ask you for 1,000 naira. You understand? So some person says employment. I said no, it's not employment. We're just creating problems for ourselves. So the CSO, they have a case. Okay, it's not left for the CBN to come out and explain to them. If the CSO is making an error or a mistake, they have to respond. You understand? This is how to hold institutions to account. Okay, when things are going wrong, it is the responsibility of the press and the CSO, the civil society organizations, to call to the public these persons so that they can make an explanation to us as to why we cannot have a formidable monetary policy and why that the CBN have not been able to steer the economy in the way it should by the extant law that created the CBN. It has a lot of responsibilities, and those responsibilities are to the public, not to the financial institutions. So those responsibilities are to the public. They have not held those responsibilities to its utmost point. And there is the right of Nigerians to so demand that somebody be sacked who is not doing the right thing. So let him now come and defend whatever it is he should defend.
Exactly. Well, that's just about the time we have for our main conversation today. I'd love to say a very big thank you to Barrister Emefiele for taking our time to be part of our show today. Thank you so very, very much, sir. And to you watching, we would love to say thank you so very much also for being part of our show today. Please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com and also follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel also at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry. You could be here. See you next weekend, therefore, yet another awesome time. Cheers.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.